If you're looking for a sleek way to record to SSDs using your camera, you need to check out the Kondor Blue Pro Blade top handle. This is an incredibly sleek option for recording to SSDs using a camera like the Lumix S5II X. What's really nice about this top handle is it has a USB-C port on it, and it uses the SanDisk Professional Pro Blades for your recording. And you can use either the 1 or 2 terabyte versions of these drives. These are really sleek and they just slide directly in the top handle, and they slot in and they don't fall out once you have it attached. And then this top handle has this NATO clamp so you can attach it directly to the top of your camera cage. And there's a USB-C port on the front. And Kondor Blue gives you a high quality USB-C to USB-C braided cable. Plug the right angle in onto the front of the camera, and then you take your camera with the cage on it and you just slide the NATO handle directly on, and then you tighten it down using the clamp on the front. You can also move the handle forward or backwards, and then you clamp it into position. Then just find the USB-C port on your camera, plug it in, and you have this super compact rig. And now you're able to record directly to an SSD instead of having to rig up a larger enclosure on the side of your camera. When I first unboxed the handle, I was honestly really surprised at just how durable and high quality it feels. It's got a little bit more width to it than a normal top handle, but it still has a grip on the bottom of it as well. So it's got these really nice divots in it for gripping it. And then you can adjust it forwards or backwards depending on how your camera's set up. This feels really sturdy and I definitely trust my camera with it. On the bottom of this, there's even this safety button too. It's not actually able to come off unless you press down on this button and pop it off. If you don't want to use it as a top handle, you can also reverse the riser and you can make it at a 90-degree angle instead. And you can use it as a side handle and still be able to really easily record to this. Kondor Blue also gives you a couple other nice features. There is a cold shoe on the top, and there's this little press-in button that keeps your accessories from sliding off. Then you get a 1/4-20 mount that has 2 anti-rotation pins on the top, and there's also a 1/4-20 mount with anti-rotation pins on the bottom. So you can use these if you want to attach it to your camera rig without using the NATO adapter. You'll just need some different hardware. I've been testing this top handle out with this Neewer half cage, and what I really like about this is probably the sleekest rig possible that allows you to record to SSDs. What's nice about the Pro Blade system is it's completely modular, and SanDisk sells these Pro Blades in 1, 2, and 4 terabyte models, but you can only use it with the Lumix S5II X if you're using the 1 or the 2 terabyte models. But what I really love about these is typically you buy them with this transport enclosure, and a lot of people have found ways to rig them onto your camera, but if you compare the size of the transport to the top handle, you're just going to notice this will take up a lot more space on your rig and be really unwieldy, all for using the same size of magazine. So I definitely don't recommend using the transport to film if you can help it at all, just because it is so big. It's going to take up a lot of space on your rig. What Kondor Blue has done with this top handle is they've let you use these really readily available NVMe drives that SanDisk has. They do have a proprietary connector, but you can slide it directly into the top handle and it's not going to fall out either. It clicks into place. Although sometimes I do wish there was a way that it could actually be held in by some sort of lever. It's just going to lock it in. But I've never felt like this is going to fall out of the handle. And another thing that's really cool about this, you can choose to either use it with the transport, so you can pull your drive out and then plug it into the transport, plug it into your computer, take advantage of those dual lane USB speeds if you have a compatible computer, or you can also edit or ingest files directly off the top handle. You're going to get speeds of around 1000 megabytes a second on the read and the write if you just unplug the top handle and then plug it directly into your computer. And what's really nice about the NATO setup is if you want, you can just unscrew that, pop the handle off, and then you can just plug this directly into your computer so you don't have to worry about a card reader or any other sort of enclosure. You can just work directly off the drive. Now, I personally recommend not working directly off the drive because a lot of times your camera is going to format the drive so that the camera can see it better. And then if you edit off of it, that can just lead to some weird file inconsistencies later when using it on the camera. So I do recommend transferring the files off the Pro Blade if at all possible. Another thing that's nice about the Pro Blades is if you want to use even faster speeds than what they're able to offer through the Kondor Blue handle or through the transport, you're able to buy the SanDisk Professional Pro Blade Station, and then you get speeds all the way up to 3000 megabytes a second on the read and the write. I typically get around 2500 megabytes a second on both of those. So you can stock up on a bunch of Pro Blades and be able to easily ingest footage. So these are going to be a great option no matter what format you're recording in because they are so fast directly off the top handle. You're able to get those 1000 megabyte a second read and write speeds from your camera. So it's going to allow you to record in pretty much any format. I've been testing it with recording in some different ProRes formats on the S5II X, or I typically just record in the 6K open gate on the Lumix S5II X. I've had no issues with it all. So this Pro Blade handle does come in at $200, which is pretty pricey for a top handle. But I think what you need to look into is the price of using this system versus buying traditional SDXC cards. So first and foremost, the 1 terabyte Pro Blade drives come in at about $120 to $180 depending on what sales are going on. And if you want to get a 512 gigabyte V90 SD card, those are going to come in at like $500 or $600. So right off the bat, there's no way you can even touch this amount of storage for the price that you're able to get it at, even with adding in the price of the $200 handle. That's going to be significant cost savings. The next thing that I think this really saves you is just the pain of having to use an SSD that's attached to the side of your camera using some sort of power bank clamp or an external SSD holder. They're just never going to be quite as sleek or usable as this top handle is. I think the con of the top handle though is if you're using the XLR adapter on top of the Lumix S5II X, this can lead to issues because you can't actually mount this directly on the NATO rail on the top of your camera cage because it'll just run directly into the XLR adapter. So I've had to resort to using this as a side handle, putting it at a funky angle so I can still see the screen on the side of my camera. So this definitely is not quite as ideal if you want to use the XLR adapter, but I will have a video later on. I'm working on my S5II rig, trying to make it a little bit more sleek for shooting talking head videos like this. So I think at $200 for the handle and $120 for the drive, you're never going to be able to touch this amount of storage space using any other SD card. And the offload speeds on this, just getting the files on your computer is so fast having the Pro Blade handle. I'm just always really surprised that whenever I go to copy 30 minutes to an hour's worth of shooting, even in the OpenGate 6K, the transfers are done so fast because these do have that super fast NVMe drive on the inside and they give you the 1000 megabytes a second read and write. A couple quick drawbacks to the Pro Blade handle. The first drawback is you're locked into a proprietary system, and if SanDisk ever decides to stop making Pro Blades, then the handle can basically become useless whenever you run out of the ability to find them on the used market. So you do have to keep that in mind. I don't think that'll be an issue though because these are readily available right now. You should always be able to find some on eBay or somewhere. The next issue I have with the Kondor Blue handle is you do have to be a little bit creative when you're rigging it up sometimes. So for my sleek setup, it works great, but if I want to use the XLR plate on top of this, then it actually gets in the way. So I'm still looking for an adapter. They make a riser. They told me it wouldn't quite raise it up enough to get it out of the way of the XLR adapter. So I think Kondor Blue still needs to make something that's going to allow this to work a little better with the S5II X when you're using the XLR unit on top. They also do make an adapter that takes the Q20 and gives you a cold shoe, so you could just put that on the side of your cage as well and still be able to view the screen. So you just have to get a little bit creative and add some different accessories with this to use it. Another con to using this is then you actually can't use the USB-C port on the side of your camera to power it while you're running it. So if you want to have longer run times, you're going to need to use a dummy battery and some sort of external battery solution, which just adds a little bit more bulk and inconvenience to using your camera rig. The last drawback that I can see is there's no redundant options whenever you're recording to an SSD. So if you're recording to V90 SD cards, you can record to both cards at the same time. So if one gets lost, stepped on, or doesn't read right on your computer for whatever reason, then you always have the backup card that's in the camera too. I use this for pretty much every recording as long as I have two cards with me because there's been times when one card has gotten messed up and this has saved me. I haven't had any issues with the files not writing all the way or having any issues reading the Pro Blades, but it would definitely be a huge inconvenience if for some reason you lost your files because you were just able to write to the one Pro Blade versus being able to write to multiple cards on your camera. So that's the big drawback to getting that faster and more affordable storage is you lose the redundant option. But other than that, I love this Pro Blade top handle and I love that it's just so easy to get it set up on your camera for easy, sleek SSD recording. You're able to quickly mount it to the top of your camera with the NATO rail, plug in your USB-C cable, and then attach it to the camera. And they really made the length of this cable perfect for using it with a small setup like this. You can also always buy longer cables on Kondor Blue's website if for whatever reason this cable doesn't work with your rig. But overall, I love this setup. It's super sleek and I've been using it to record a lot of content lately because I love how easy it is to use in the speed of transferring the files off of the top handle. If you're interested in buying the Kondor Blue top handle or any of the other accessories we talked about in this video, check the links in the description below. And I'm also going to have several other videos linked with more information on the SanDisk Pro Blade ecosystem. If you have any other questions about this setup, leave a comment down below. I'll do my best to answer them. Like this video, subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any upcoming content. We've got a lot more videos planned going over the S5II X and the ways that I've been rigging it up and using it to shoot a ton of content. So you're definitely going to want to stick around for that.